Jim Baxford is a retired Special Forces soldier, dressed in a sharp suit, picks up his sniper rifle and heads to Wall Street's most advantageous vantage point. He begins picking off his targets one by one. High-ranking executives, drawn by the sound of gunfire, gather at the windows, unaware that they've become live targets. Jim, undeterred, does what no one else dares to do, targeting these bloodsuckers who have left him bankrupt and ruined. Yet, this act of vengeance isn't enough to satisfy him. He puts away the sniper rifle, arms himself with grenades, and prepares for an even bigger strike. With nothing left to lose, his actions might just make you sympathize with him by the end of the film. After retiring, Jim became an armored car driver, living a happy life with his gentle and beautiful wife, Rosie. They were planning to start a family, believing that life would continue to be blissful. But fate had other plans. Rosie was diagnosed with a near-fatal brain tumor. Although surgery removed the tumor, the subsequent exorbitant treatment costs were unaffordable. She needed a weekly hormone injection to manage her condition.
Also, your blood sugar level has skyrocketed. Again, as a result of the gland's reaction to the tumor, so we'll have to treat you for diabetes.
When Jim inquired at the front desk, he was told that their health insurance had reached its limit. He found himself unable to afford her treatment, relying on credit cards instead. Frustrated, he called the insurance company, questioning why they refused to cover the costs despite their initial promises. The company pointed him to the contract's fine print, full of jargon and hidden clauses that left him powerless.
I've been buried under a metric ton of paperwork from you guys ever since my wife got diagnosed. Now I can't be expected to catch every line of fine print from every letter. I work 6-7 days a week. I get that it's company policy, but that's got nothing to do. So what you're saying is go fuck yourself, have a nice day.
Seeing her husband struggling with finances, Rosie felt guilty and decided to give up on her treatment. Jim, however, remained optimistic, believing that hard work would eventually pay off. He had a substantial amount of retirement savings in the bank, invested in financial products that should have multiplied by now. He decided to cash in his military pension, only to discover that much of it had been lost due to his financial advisor's poor investments.
This is not a fucking game, Dimmy. This is my fucking life savings, you fuck.
I understand.
Returning home, he received a collection notice from the bank, demanding $60,000 as a result of bad real estate investments by his rogue advisor. Not only had Jim lost his savings, but he also owed a significant debt. Frustrated by his financial losses and inability to pay for his wife's treatment and their mortgage, Jim reached his breaking point. As a straightforward man, Jim sought legal help to reclaim his money. But the lawyer demanded a $10,000 consultation fee upfront, which Jim couldn't afford. Jim frequently lunches with a colleague in the armored car business. He borrows $10,000 from the colleague to pay for an attorney to sue his financial advisor. The lawyer, confident in handling the case, revealed that it was part of a class action lawsuit and that he had leverage against the investment firm. However, to negotiate, Jim had to forfeit his original investment. Feeling trapped again, Jim decided to consult the assistant district attorney about his advisor's wrongdoing. Jim's attempt to meet with the assistant district attorney is thwarted by the secretary, who insists that the ADA is too busy to see him.
Marwood. Mr.
I'm sorry,
Marwood.
Mr. Baxford.
I need to speak to you.
Mr. Marwood is
I'm Jim Baxford.
busy. Please, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
I need to speak to
Don't
him.
make me have to call security.
I am security, you fucking bitch. Get your fucking hands off me.
Frustrated but determined, Jim doesn't give up. He tries to secure a loan from the bank, but his credit issues make this impossible. To make matters worse, Jim's employer, learning about his financial troubles, reluctantly fires him. As an armored car driver, the company can't risk employing someone with debt and poor credit. Jim's boss, showing some compassion, pays him in cash to prevent the bank from seizing his wages. Jim, now jobless and desperate, wanders the streets, unable to face Rosie. When he finally returns home, he finds Rosie has taken her own life to avoid burdening him further. She left her wedding ring behind to help pay off their debts. This devastating loss breaks Jim, turning his world upside down in just a few days. At Rosie's funeral, the once hopeful man is reduced to tears. Drowning in grief and alcohol, Jim is now completely shattered. The bank's collection agents demand he vacate his home within 2 days. Homeless and with nothing left, he aimlessly roams the streets, unsure of his next move. One day, Jim sees the ADA at a bar, celebrating with Wall Street executives. It dawns on him that these vampires are all in cahoots, and the hardworking people like him are the victims of their schemes. Fueled by rage, Jim confronts the ADA outside the bar. A scuffle ensues, and the ADA is struck by a passing taxi. Panicked, Jim flees the scene, hiding at home for 2 days until the incident is ruled an accidental death. This taste of revenge ignites a new purpose in Jim. Jim digs out his long-forgotten assault rifle, gears up, and checks into a Wall Street hotel. His first target, the vice president of the investment firm that ruined him. Jim's precise shot takes down the VP as he approaches his new Porsche. The thrill of revenge propels Jim forward. Jim's next target is a high-ranking financial executive known for manipulating the markets to his advantage. This man, currently at his opulent villa enjoying a fine wine with his secretary, is unaware that he's on Jim's hit list. The third target is a lawyer infamous for protecting Wall Street's worst offenders. This attorney, who has repeatedly thwarted justice, becomes Jim's latest victim. Each successful hit sends ripples of fear through the financial elite, who now live in constant anxiety. The media dubs him the Wall Street assassin, and his notoriety grows. Meeting his 2 NYPD friends for lunch, Jim casually admits he's the Wall Street murderer. They laugh, dismissing it as a joke.
It's me. Come on, man, you give me a heart attack. Cut it out. What's the matter with you?
But Jim's vendetta is far from over. He meticulously plans a final, spectacular assault. He studies the layout of Wall Street and the position of the investment company, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Jim chooses a prime day for his ultimate strike. He secures a strategic vantage point on Wall Street, ready to execute his most daring plan. The executives, lured by the sound of gunfire, gather at the windows, unwittingly exposing themselves as targets. Jim takes aim, firing methodically at the so-called Wall Street elite, each shot a precise act of retribution. Donning a mask, Jim storms into the building, taking out brokers still fervently selling fraudulent financial products. Ascending to the top floor, Jim storms into the CEO's office. Here, he confronts Jeremy Stancroft, the portfolio manager who played a key role in Jim's financial ruin. Jim, seated at Jeremy's desk, recounts the injustices he's suffered and demands an explanation for Jeremy's actions. Jeremy, defending his actions, speaks candidly about the harsh realities of capitalism.
You know, there's not a person on this earth that's worth over $100 million that came by that money honestly. Why don't you take a look at the old money, the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, the Gettys, the Morgans, the Hearsts, the Rockefellers. How do you think they got all that money? They just annexed territories and licenses and businesses and killed the native population and imported slaves and sold guns to both the North and the South during the Civil War and controlled the politicians. And they're heroes. They're American heroes. Competition in a capitalist society. That's how the cream always rises to the top. That's how the strong survive and the weak die off.
Jeremy's words reveal the brutal truth of the capitalist system, but instead of getting angry, Jim proposes a game.
Want to play a little free market competition? Just you and me? On the count of 3. 1, 2.
Yeah, I came out on top.
You cheated.
That's what you don't understand. That's not what's important. What's important is that I won. It doesn't matter how I won. When you're dead.
I cheated too.
Jeremy, now tasting the bitterness of deceit, is interrupted as Sweat smashes the window and shoots him dead. Jim pretends to be an innocent wounded victim. Unexpectedly, he is recognized by one of his NYPD lunchmates, but without a word, Jim is led out of the building by his friend to the street, to freedom. Jim's revenge is far from over. If the justice system fails to act, he will strike again.